Hi everyone, for this video I'm jumping into the bandwagon. I've seen a lot of these videos recently on YouTube, and it's actually the no makeup look. And I love doing this kind of a look, and it's kind of like my trademark because it's the kind of look that I've been doing, especially during the early parts of my career wherein I did a lot of TV adverts. So I'm kind of known for it. And also one other thing, I'm also going to share with you guys some tips and tricks on how to summer-proof your makeup. Because I live here in the Philippines and it's humid all year round. And although now it's the rainy season, it's actually summer in some parts of the world. So maybe, well, it's not a lot of tricks, but it's just some things that I adjust into my routine just so that the makeup stays on longer when the weather is very hot and humid. So I hope this proves helpful to you guys. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my skincare. I have all my skincare down now on my face. So after cleansing, what I did is I applied a toner. And the toner that I use is this toner. So this is from VMV Hypoallergenics. It's a Filipino brand, but it's available worldwide. Um, you just have to go to their website to check it out. But they also have a store in New York, by the way. So this is a toner. This is mandelic acid and monolaurin toner, and this is actually formulated for oily skin. So this just really helps to close down my pores, minimize sebum production, and it just really helps to mattify my skin. Now after toner, what I did is I applied some vitamin C serum from Tree of Life Beauty, one of my most favorites. So this will really help in giving my skin some antioxidant care, excuse the fly. And after that, I added some of the um, vitamin C eye gel, also from Tree of Life Beauty. And the next thing that I did is I actually did apply a very small amount of moisturizer. So I also used the Tree of Life Vitamin C moisturizer, just a hint, it's not the same amount that I use when it's very rainy or when it's cold here, because what I have noticed is that when the weather gets very very hot, especially here in the Philippines, it gets very humid. So the air is full of moisture, and when I notice that the wind has so much moisture, I actually minimize my moisturizer application because I don't really need it, because my skin is able to grab all of the moisture that is in the air. So I applied a very minute amount of moisturizer, just enough for the foundation to glide on earlier. And also one other thing, I also applied the id monolaurin gel, also from VMV Hypoallergenics. Now this is a uh, face and body clarifying gel, and it's also a mattifying and smoothing gel, and the gel just really cools everything down and mattifies my skin without drying it. So that's very very important. So I applied that here on my nose, in this area, and also here on in this part of my forehead, because that's where I'm usually very oily and very shiny. And of course, as a final step, I also used some sunscreen. So this is a silicone based sunscreen. This is also from VMV Hypoallergenics, and this has an SPF of 70. So it's very important that you wear sunscreen when the summer season is here, because of course, as we all now know, that sunlight does damage the skin. Right now I'm going to start with my foundation, and I'm going to be using the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin The Foundation, and this is in number 16. So this has olive tones in it, which is perfect for me. I have also noticed that there are some people who only like to use tinted moisturizers during the summer season, which is okay as long as you have very dry skin. But to me, I think you have to use like the right foundation for your skin type. So use like a hydrating foundation, because if you're going to be using a tinted moisturizer, it's not going to stay long on the skin, although it's going to look very hydrated, but it's not going to work well, because well, it also depends where you live, because what I've noticed is that if I use like tinted moisturizers during the summer season, the makeup breaks down very very easily. And I know there are some of you who don't like to use very thick foundations during the summer, which is understandable. So you can only use it like in the areas of the skin where you need coverage. So it's always around, like, the nose, here along the bridge of the nose, under the eye area, or like even some here on the forehead. So you don't have to put on like a thick layer of foundation. Just do it like a patchwork, and only apply it where needed. Now, during the summer, make sure that when you're applying your makeup, do it in a cool, dry place. Don't do it in your bathroom after a shower because there's just too much humidity in the bathroom. And also one other thing, if you like taking hot showers, your body is very warm. So your body, if you've noticed, like after a shower, your body tends to sweat all of a sudden, and that's because like your body is adjusting to the temperature in the surrounding area of the bathroom. So this will not really help for your makeup to stick because your body, when it's trying to cool down, is just releasing all of this heat through sweat. So it's just pushing out all of the moisture from inside your body, and it's going out through your pores, and nothing will stick on your face if this happens. So always do it in a cool, dry place, and also make sure that your body temperature is low, you're not panting, you are relaxed, because makeup and the process of doing makeup in general is going to be a much more pleasant experience. Okay, so this is my foundation down now. I'm happy with the coverage. It's very light, very thin, but it has evened out my skin tone, which is perfect. And by the way, I'm shooting under natural light today, so this is what you'll see if you see me in person. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply some blush, and I'm going to be using this Ilia multi-use pigment in the color Waking Up. And the reason why I'm using a cream blush is because cream blush creates a very natural looking finish on the skin, and it has a tendency of melting into the skin, so it creates a very nice natural flush of color. Now, if you're someone who likes to use gel brushes during the summer season, it's also possible to do that, but make sure that it doesn't like, you know, not neutralize, but it doesn't fight with the foundation that you are using, because sometimes gel blushes, they have volatile silicones, so they dry up very fast, and some foundations that are also quick drying has volatile silicones. So if you use those two together, you will have a difficulty of blending out gel blushes. And my one advice is that if you like to use a gel blush, apply the gel blush first before applying the foundation. Okay, so I'm just applying a very nice layer of this blush here at the highest points of my cheeks, and I'm blending it out. So this has a very nice, like, you know, peachy pink color, but it leans towards a much more, like, you know, brownie side of the color spectrum. So it creates this very nice natural and neutral color on my cheeks. And I'm going back to the brush that I use for my foundation, and I'm just going to blend out the edges. And then I'm just going to add a hint more of color here while I'm looking straight at you, so that I just have a nice flush, but I'm not overly doing it. Alright, so I'm quite happy with that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some concealer. And what I have here is that I have an eye base, this is from NARS, and a concealer. So I'm going to be mixing these two together. I have it here at the back of my hand, so I'm just mixing these two products, and I'm going to apply it here on my under eye area and also here, and I'm going to blend it out. So what this does is that it just gives the concealer a longer holding power into your eyelid, because after all, a creamy concealer will tend to run and crease in the under eye area, especially when it's very, very hot and very, very warm. So if an eye base works of, like, you know, holding the color of your eyeshadows on your eyelid, it will work in actually holding your concealer to make it stay put in your under eye area. Okay, so now I'm applying it here in my other eye and also here. And as I've always said, blending is a key, and I'm just using a tapping motion with this brush to make the concealer stay and sit in my under eye area. Alright, I'm quite happy with that. Okay, and now I'm going to go back and get the brush that I used for the cream blush that I applied earlier, and I'm just adding a little bit of some intensity, and I'm just trying to blend the blush into my cheeks and trying to blend it into the edges of the area where my concealer has actually blended into. Now I can actually feel a little bit of like some my under eye area getting a little bit tight, so the eyeshadow base is already actually setting. So that should be helpful already. And it also adds a little hint of brightness into my under eye area because because the eye base is a little bit, it has some white pigments in it, so it kind of like lightens the concealer that I used a teeny tiny bit. So at least when you look straight into like somebody or like into the camera, it really gives this very nice bright under eye area. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my face with powder, and I'm going to be using these two colored powders. This is banana powder from Benai, and this is desert powder from Mud Cosmetics, and I actually decanted them into these glass bottles because I don't have space in my makeup kit. So I actually mixed those two colors together, and I'm picking it up now here from my palette, and I'm going to start by setting my under eye area with this, and I'm just lightly pressing it, and I'm also going to do that here, my forehead area, here my nose, here by my cheekbones. So I'm only pressing the powder in the areas where I'm usually oily, so that it just make sure that my foundation stays put, and it just really helps in minimizing the possibility of my pores from generating too much oil production, because sometimes during the summer an adequate amount of powder can really help your skin stay fresh and look fresh. Okay, now with the powder brush, I'm picking up some of the powder again, and I'm just applying a very thin layer of powder here on my cheeks, just so that it sets. And I'm actually planning of using a matte blush, so adding some powder in that area can just really help to make that blush glide on smoothly. Now, as you guys can see, my skin is still very radiant, and that's because of my sunscreen, and that's also because of my skincare. And Lisa's foundation is actually it's self-setting, so you don't actually need powder. But because I know my skin, I know that I will get oily a little bit later on. A little bit of powder just really helps to make sure that it just stays in place. Now, I'm also going to be skipping applying some highlighter, because the thing is, when it's summer, your skin, no matter what kind of long wearing foundation that you put, mattifying toners, mattifying primers, things like that, whatever, your skin will always become radiant because the wind is full of moisture. And that's the reason why I don't want to put highlighters, because as the day progresses, my skin will start to become very, very dewy, and my natural highlight will start popping out. And if the day progresses, my skin becomes even more radiant, and I'm actually banking on that. That's why I'm okay to use matte foundations during the summer, because even right now you can just see the natural tones of my skin popping out. So it's just like I have my own natural highlighter on my skin. Alright, so next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Bellini blush from Laura Mercier. I love this color. It's very warm and peachy. It works very well with my skin tone. So I'm just using this very nice, airy, fluffy brush from Sonia G. And I'm actually picking up some of the product here at the very top of the blush. And I'm actually going to use this powder just to set the cream blush that I used earlier. And it's also going to add some dimension into the blush because this is actually brighter. So I'm actually enjoying using the soft cheek brush from Sonia G, because I find that the shape of this brush head here, the dome here, just really applies the color well into the apples of the cheek. And then if you just blend the color out slowly, it just diffuses it ever so lightly. And that's the reason why I'm using this brush right now, because I'm using a matte blush on top of the cream blush. So we just really need for these two colors to blend well together. So now we can see that there's a hint of color, but it's not exaggerated. It looks like it's there. It's very natural, but it's giving life to the skin. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. And now let's go and work on the eyes. So I'm just going to move a little bit closer. And I'm going to start by using this eye base from NARS. I love it. This is my go-to eye base. And I'm just going to apply a little bit all over my eyelid because, you know, when the summer season is here, when it's very hot and very humid, sometimes our eyelids become very, very sweaty and very, very oily, especially if you're someone who likes to wear a lot of hair products because those things melt into the forehead and sometimes they melt into the eyelids. So having an eye base can just really help to make sure that your eyeshadows will last on your eyes. You can use a lot of other eye bases. Like I use a lot of the Laura Mercier eye basics, especially the color Flax. Although I haven't bought it in a while, I think I should visit them soon. I really like the color. It's a very nice yellow tone that can really help to brighten up the eye area. And you can also use the paint pots from MAC. So it really is up to you. But for me, I like using this NARS smudge proof eye base because it instantly brightens the eye and it also helps to bring out the color of the eyeshadow pigments that you're going to be using. Okay, today I'm going to be using a lot of the matte eyeshadows here. This is my go-to palette from Laura Mercier. I actually curated this and I created my own, and these are all matte eyeshadows. And again, I like using matte eyeshadows, especially for the summer, because sometimes too much radiance can make you look very, very sweaty. And the thing is, matte eyeshadows can also help you to create dimension on the eyes. So I'm going to start by using this very nice, like, you know, neutral beigey brown color. And this is in the color Fresco. And I'm just picking up a little bit of the product here on this brush. And by looking straight into the camera here, I'm just applying this color here well into my socket line, and I'm just blending it out slowly. Now the brush that I'm using is made of Skrilled hair, so this will not actually blend out the color, but this will just actually apply a very soft amount of color into the eyelid. Now I really love using this color because it's skin-like. It's also brightening, but it's neutral enough, and it kind of like blends into my skin. It creates a very nice shadow, and that's because it's a blue tone brown, so this will work well with counteracting the yellow tones of my skin, and it just really pops out. You know, after all, I have olive undertones on my skin, and this pinky brown just really works for me. I really love the matte pigments from Laura Mercier. It's very refined. It's also very easy to blend. It's also very easy to build up. Okay, so that's the initial color down. And now with a definer brush, I'm picking up the same color here. So I'm just mapping out my eyeshadow look for us today. So what I'm doing now is I'm applying a little bit of that color here on the lower part of my eyes, here on the outer portion of my lower lash line. And I'm just trying to create like an outline of a lift just so that my eyes doesn't look droopy. And again, because it's a very neutral brown color, it's not going to be very obvious. Because to me, when you say like, you know, I want to have a no makeup kind of a look, it doesn't, in my understanding, it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to look like you don't have any makeup on. But you know, what it means to me is that you want to have makeup on that makes you look nice, fresh, and well defined without being overly done. Okay, so now I'm just connecting and blending the colors, and I have my eye shape that I need to actually create a nice lift on my eyes. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to buff out the edges, make sure that everything is well blended. Okay, next what I want to do is I want to use this very nice neutral brown color here. This is called Cafe au Lait. I love this color. And I'm using this very nice, again, squirrel haired brush. And I'm just going to apply very minimal pressure into my socket line area. Because again, this is quite a neutral brown. And what this does, it just adds more definition to your socket line. And because this is made of squirrel hair, it's going to apply a diffused amount of color on the eyelid. So I'm using very gentle back and forth motion. And I'm also adding a little bit of the pigment here in the outer portion of my eye, trying to create a nice lifted shape, but without being overly so. Again, blending is the key, and I'm working with all my natural skin tones. So I'm working with the natural color of my eyelid, so at least you guys can see that with the eye base that I used earlier, it's just making that area of my eye bright, and that can also help guide me in creating the shape and the lift that I need for my eyes. Alright, so now I'm going to use this very nice brown color here, which has a hint of red on it. So this is from the Viseart Warm palette. And I'm just going to apply that all over my upper lash line. So this is just to add the initial definition of color that I need to add some drama into my lash line. So I'm actually not being very careful with the application because I just want it to apply, like, in a very blurred out manner. So I'm even like using my fingers just to buff out the edges. So as you guys can see, that's already adding some definition. It's already opening up my eye. And I'm also going to add some of that here into my lower lash line, just here in the outer portion. This will just really help to open up my eyes. Okay, and whatever is left on the brush head, I'm just going to sweep it across my socket line like that in one smooth motion, just to connect everything. Okay, and just like that, if we just step back a bit from the camera, we can see that the skin tone is very even. My eyes is now very lifted, it's quite open, but I want to emphasize it some more by adding more drama into the lash line. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a caviar stick from Laura Mercier. Now, before, I actually used to use their water activated cake eyeliners, but that has been quite difficult for me to source here in the Philippines. So a caviar stick will do. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the eyeshadow stick that you're going to use is from Laura Mercier, but you can always use your favorite brand. And what I'm doing is I'm just adding this very nice brown color all over my lash line, and I'm using a flat brush to apply it because this will just really help to emphasize my lash line without being too overly dramatic when you're using an actual eyeliner. And again, the great thing with caviar sticks is that they last all day. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a smudger brush, and I'm just going to smudge out that caviar stick so that it blends with the initial eyeshadow color that I applied earlier, just so that we have a nice hint of dimension and depth of color on the eyelids. Wow, look at that. It's already quite emphasized. So I'm just going back to the brush that I used earlier to apply the caviar stick, and I'm just perfecting the application here on the outer edge of my eyes. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So now I'm going to finish the other eye. Same process. Pick up some of the caviar stick and apply it gently all over the base of the lashes. Now what I like about the caviar sticks from Laura Mercier is that it gives you a certain amount of playtime, so you can actually blend it out and soften it. You can be as intense and as soft as you can with the eye look that you want to create. Oh, okay, sorry about that. The light disappeared, the clouds passed through, so I hope that the sun will show itself as we go through the video. But anyway, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just blending out the edges, blurring it out further, just smudging it, creating a nice lifted look. So again, like as you guys can see, the brush is just going upwards here in the outer edges of my eyes. And I'm also going to do that here. Okay, fantastic. I love that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some drama on my lid, and I'm going to be using this very nice peachy golden satin kind of an eyeshadow from Laura Mercier. I love this. This is called Guava. And what I like about this color is that it's not too shimmery, it's not too glittery, but it's just right. And I love to use this color if I just want to add a hint of drama here on my eyelid, especially when I'm using a lot of matte eyeshadows. Just a nice delicate wash of this all over the eyelid can just add some light and reflectivity in that area. And because it's a peachy golden kind of a color, it will work very well with my skin tone as well, and also with the color of my eyes. So I'm just gently brushing it all over my eyelid because this will just really help to open up my eyes and also to add some softness into it. Okay, now with the pencil brush, I'm going back into the Guava eyeshadow color, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of that here in the inner corner for some drama that will really help to open up my eye. Next, I'm going to add some mascara just to add some flutteriness. So I'm just applying a very thin layer all over my lashes, starting at the very base and wiggling it to the top. And then with a lash comb, I'm just going to comb through it to separate it. Look at that. I love this mascara. Very nice. It creates also lots of volume. Looks very fluttery too. Now, by the way, this mascara is not waterproof, and the main reason why I'm not using a waterproof mascara is because I do not like using waterproof mascaras because they are very difficult to remove at the end of the day. This one has longevity, by the way, and what I like about it is that you can just remove it with hot water and cleanser. Again, you can use whatever mascara that you want. It also depends on the activity that you have for the day. Of course, if you're going to have a lot of sports activities, like, anything that can make your eyes water, then by all means use a waterproof mascara. But if you don't have to, you don't have to. Because truthfully, at the end of the day, what makes your eye makeup or your makeup in general stay is that when you do not touch your face, because it's actually friction that breaks down all the makeup application that you have on your face. Okay, so now I'm just going to finish my eyes off and add some mascara in my lower lashes. Okay, now for eyebrows, I'm just going to use this eyebrow pen, and I'm just going to create very thin strokes of hair just to add, like, volume. And this can also really help me to fill in the sparse areas of my brows just to create some balance. I'm also going to do that here on my other eye. I do apologize, by the way, if you can hear like a whirring noise. I turn on the fan because it's very, very hot. It's very humid here today, which is actually perfect for this video. Alright, so now I'm just going to brush everything back into place. And if you are someone who actually suffers from the fact that your eyebrow makeup gets erased throughout the day because of constant oil and sweat and things like that, well, here's one trick that I like to use. It's actually, again, the eye base from NARS. So I'm just putting a little bit of that here at the back of my hand. And with the spoolie that I use, I'm just going to pick some of the product up. And I'm going to brush the product into my brows. This can really help to keep my brows in place and also your brow makeup to also stay in place and to also last longer. So I'm just going to add one more layer here for my other brow. And if you are also someone who likes to use a lot of those fiber brow gels, you can actually apply this first and then you apply the fiber brow gel, and this just adds more volume and more staying power to those eyebrow gels with fiber. I should get some of those. I miss those. I'm gonna look for some. Alright, so I'm quite happy with that, and what I want to do now is to add some color to my lips, and I'm going to use this lip pencil from ColourPop, and I'm just going to outline my lips with this and fill in everything. And I really like using this color because it's the closest match to my lip color, so it's going to look very, very natural. And look at that, it's very nice. And what I want to do is actually use like a lip balm. Like example, this Afterglow lip balm from NARS. This is in Orgasm. And I just apply it all over my lip. This just adds like a nice hint of color on the lips. Now, it really depends on you on if you want to use creamy lipsticks. But I tend to advise people not to use like super matte lipsticks during the summer because they tend to dry the lips out. And also one other thing, when the summer season is here, your lips tend to dry out as well because of the heat. So using lip balms is a great idea. Using lip glosses is a great idea. And if you're someone who doesn't like to use lip balm and you want to use lip treatments during the summer, this is actually a good idea because throughout the day you're just helping your lips to avoid being chapped or wind burned and dry, because having cracked lips and dry lips is a very unpleasant experience. So one other color that I want to use actually right now is, hang on, let me get it. All right, so it's actually this lip gloss from Lisa Eldridge. This is in Muse. So let me just add a little bit of that here. It feels very, very nourishing. And this will really work well for you if you have very dry lips. And you can just enhance this further by adding more lip liner. Very nice color. It works very well with my lip color. I'm so glad that the sun has managed to come out just as I'm about to finish this video, because I just want you guys to see how it looks like under natural sunlight. So it's again very, very natural, but there's a certain oomph to this makeup look. And truthfully, this is my trademark look that I create when people ask me to do a no makeup kind of look. There's still color, there's still radiance, there's still definition, but it's not overly so. It's just right. I also do hope that you guys were able to pick up a few tips and tricks on how to summerify your makeup look. Again, just make sure that the products that you use, especially your skincare products, will work well in creating the right environment for your makeup to sit on properly. And also, try to find a product that you can use in more ways than one. Like example, the NARS Smudge Proof Eye Base. You can use this to add more staying power to your concealer, to your eyeshadow, even to your brows. And of course, try to use products that melt well with your actual skin type. Okay, so that's it for me today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions about all of the products that I use, please leave them down at the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you are having a good day wherever you are. Bye!